Are you ready to dive in so we can start talking about this first conquest thing?
Yeah, no, I'm ready to go.
All right, well, first up, we're going to introduce somebody you're familiar with, but in a different environment. We have the Bull Demon King.
That's right.
Let's dive in game and check him out.
Let's see. So, you'll see a familiar face is spawning in the Fire Giant Pit, and if you'll take a note here at what time the game is, you'd be quite surprised to see that it is about to be 2 minutes on the dot in the Conquest map.
Oh, wait, no, it's not.
And so, one kind of brainstorm that we were doing a little bit is how do we spice up the early game? Because again, kind of going back to that early game theme of wanting to make sure like that players felt like they had things to fight over and to kind of choose to do on the battlegrounds, especially more neutral areas to encourage fighting, encourage getting active, taking some more risks. And so having this kind of objective to do is one way to do that for sure. So we brainstormed a couple of things that we could do when it came to the objectives, but we just thought the Bull Demon King has this kind of foundation in Joust. And he does have some fun little mechanics he has. You know, you have to kind of juke him, you can pull him around and do things like that. And he just overall is a very solid boss monster, you might say.
Yeah, and I think he actually fits this area really well.
He does.
Yeah.
You have the flaming on the shoulder pads and the wrist pads and the weapon as well. And just kind of scale-wise as well fits in this pit pretty well. But you can see it's only 2 minutes. We found a lot of the jungle meta, especially right now, or the combat early was very focused around mid. The only outside parts of that was when the jungler would go to the outside lanes to get Naga or the shield camp or the CDR camp, for example. But then they wouldn't be there long and they would go straight back to mid, and they were just kind of hovering around mid a lot.
Yeah.
We saw junglers kind of trending a little bit more to the duo side, and it just ended up being really heavy on that side with the support, the ADC there, and then the jungler. So we wanted to give the junglers something to do on the other side of the map, push them towards solo lane just a little bit, and have a global reward so that, you know, the mid laner, the solo laner, and the jungler can all come to this objective. So that's what it's for. It's an early game objective, just something to fight over more in the early game and get the game rolling, really, get some action happening.
Yeah, exactly.
I was about to say, that begs the question, what are you fighting over? I mean, you know, obviously the Bull Demon King has to offer some form of reward for slaying him. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, so it's kind of twofold. The first bit of reward that, you know, you're killing a neutral jungle objective, you're going to be getting global golden XP for your whole team if you do kill this bad boy, which... in general, we have kind of designed him to be soloable by jungle. It will just take you a long time if you do it by yourself. Ideally, you want to pull either your mid laner with you, your solo laner with you, and you'll be able to do it a little bit faster. But, you know, if they're not in the lane in the early game, it's going to be kind of obvious, right?
Yeah.
So in theory, you know, if you are missing your laner for a long period of time and you go, well, I wonder what they're doing, they might be on Bull Demon King.
Yeah,
But that's not the only thing that it grants.
That's right. We can see JMac hovering over there. It reveals all enemy wards for the duration of the buff. That buff is there for 60 seconds, and I'll spoil it right now. That's a 2-minute respawn, right? So if you're killing that on spawn, half the time you're going to be able to see the enemy's wards. And when we're talking about getting more action in the early game and getting some more snowball happening just a little bit more, really that's your opportunity. You can see the enemy wards. You can either go up to them and kill them, so you can get the extra gold from the rewards as well as the global gold that you're getting and the XP from killing the Bull Demon itself. You get extra gold from those wards, or you can just skirt around them as a jungler and look for those ganks because you can see the paths that you have open to you now.
The Fire Giant now spawns at 15 minutes. And yeah, so the Bull Demon King can respawn several times throughout the match. So yeah, you'll want to be careful with when you're placing your wards. And also, we've seen sometimes in our playtests too, where we've had people actually use it to their advantage when the enemy team has gotten the Bull Demon King and kind of play baits around a ward that's dropped.
Exactly.
So
We've seen that before.
Very interesting.
And last but not least, this one's a little cool sounding. Invade penalties.
Oh, actually, we have one more thing to talk about with the cooldown
something?
buff.
Oh, please.
So yeah, let's jump back to cooldown buff really quick, because cooldown buff's very interesting, right? Because we had a long talk about cooldown in 11.1 where cooldown kind of felt like this stat that was all over the place. It was very easy to come by.
Yeah.
So you removed it from a couple items, but what ended up happening is that even though the cooldown buff itself is very strong, you still run into that problem where if I'm at the cooldown, it doesn't do anything.
Right. Yeah, you get golden XP, but that was it.
Yeah, that's kind of it. You don't really care to pick up the buff at that point because you're like, it doesn't matter if it's on me or not. If I have 40%, I don't really care. So now, instead of you know, just not really having to care about it, you now can care about it a little bit more because it has an effect that allows you to have reduced cooldowns even if you have 40%. So you're not feeling too bad about picking this up no matter who you are, what cooldowns you have, a little bit of extra reduction there every couple of seconds. So Stormseeker is a brand new item that builds off of Hunter's Bow. So this is in the bow tree. It's in the same segment as Silver Branch and Atalantis, as you can see here.
Ooh, it's
right
pretty.
next to the other
Whoa.
bow buds. And what this does is that it is 1,900 gold, so it is very, very, very
Yeah,
cheap.
Cheap little item.
But its stats, you know, they're kind of low. 15 physical power for a tier 3 item is possibly one of the lowest in the game, if not the lowest. And it's also got 20% attack speed. But what you'll notice here, and we
Okay.
spoiled this a bit on Twitter, is that every time you basic attack a god, you get a permanent stack of attack speed. But it is a very, very small
Very
stack.
small. Muy
Very
poco.
small stack.
You beat it.
But the other thing that you'll notice, if you eagle-eyed viewers were checking out that description, is that it stacks all the way to 999.
That's a big number.
We're gonna be here a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now I can truly press tab, see how many auto attacks my hunters.
It's true.
Actually, what I'm excited about is building this item in like the first item, so you can really start to get into the action. It's only 1,900 gold, so you can buy it on your first back a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And then you can come back into your lane and just box the enemy hunter as much as possible with
Yeah.
that attack speed. And by the time you hit like a threshold of a couple hundred stacks, it ends up being a really efficient item and definitely worth keeping. And it's been fun this whole time building up the stacks. And you can see J-Max not getting stacks from hitting minions.
Yeah.
Absolutely intended. We wouldn't want people to just go in, you know.
I got a news report recently. The JMac is still trying to get stacks. Is that right?
I actually just finished. It took about
Oh,
7
we've done
minutes. It took about 7 minutes of strictly auto attacking
Literally.
and not doing anything else. So
Beautiful.
it's possible, but you got to dedicate about 7 minutes of your life, and this is with no stims. It's not like I grabbed, like an Artemis or an Izanami and kept my stim active as long as possible. That is just standing there and holding left click for 7 minutes.
7 minutes.
Yep.
There's one important thing to note on this screen, and that's there's one item in J-Max inventory, and he is at capped attack speed. That sounds crazy and broken.
So first things first, what we should probably talk about is that Equinox is a katana, and you might say,
A katana.
Lurmy, there are 4 katanas already. Golden Blade is out, my friends.
Bye-bye.
No more Golden Blade.
We sold it at the pawn shop.
This is a bit of a tough decision for us, honestly,
yeah.
because we know that Golden Blade is an item that has existed for a long time. It's been a favorite of many a junglers between your Mercuries and your Kalis, Arachnes,
Yeah.
Bakasuras, etc. And even had a brief stint in the solo lane for a while. But ever since the introduction of Golden Shard, we felt like its purchase rate has just kind of fallen off a cliff. And it just has not been a necessary pickup. And we thought, well, we might as well add something in its place that feels like a fun new replacement for it. And that, my friends, is Equinox.
Is Equinox.
Yeah, I think there might be a lot of semi-upset people in the chat right now being like, oh, I really love Golden Blade, but trust me, you're going to love this more. On the same gods that you bought Golden Blade on, you're probably going to buy this item too. And I will argue that it's a lot better, and I think it's a lot more fun as well.
Exactly.
All right,
Very
so-
fun item.
We're
Yeah,
taking a look at the
run us through it.
stats here. 2,200 gold. It's about the same kind of,
It is the
stat
same
level.
gold
Yeah, it's the
blade,
same exact stats that you were getting from Golden Blade. And you'll see exactly why. But if we flip over to the next lower third to see the passive here, there are 2 of them. But you probably are
passives.
wondering, how does this trigger? Well, you guys know backstab, right?
Loki passive.
Yeah.
Loki passive. You hit someone from the front, it does something different from the back. It's kind of the same idea here, where when you attack an enemy with a basic attack from the front, you're actually going to heal a little bit. So if you're sitting there boxing someone, mano a mano, fighting it out, you're going to be healing a little
Jukes
bit.
up,
Just a
got
little bit though, and it's doubled against gods. So if you're actually doing this against gods, it's going to feel a lot better. That sustain's going to be really nice.
Okay.
But if you are attacking an enemy in the other direction, it's going to be doing extra damage, which is going to be feeling very nice, especially if they start to run away from you or you're a
Yeah.
character that can get behind someone, like, a Wheelix, for example. You do a little feather step, bop them from the back, any of those kind of things. That's going to be also a nice little burst of damage there.
So the last guy we have to talk about in this particular block of balance, there's some more coming up, is Surtur. So Surtur, this one looks kind of crazy
Yes.
a little bit.
Remember how we talked a little
We
bit
just
about...
put that up on the
Crazy.
screen like that. Maybe we
Yeah.
should
We're showing it,
stay
gosh.
silent
There
and
it
just
is.
let them read it. Yeah.
Crazy.
You guys want to read that real quick? I'll give you a second.
Just that first line, yeah.
Yeah, we'll have a quiet reading time.
Yeah.
All right,
we
you got
go.
it? You guys ready to go? Okay, let's go. Flames of the Moose Bowl. This is his one. Previously, the stacks went up to 200. Now they go to 999, and you
That's
may
a
be going,
lot
Lurmy,
more.
that's a lot of damage. What am I gonna? How am I supposed to get to 999 when I get a stack off of killing a minion and that's killing a thing? Well, now you get stacks in a lot of different ways. First off, you get 1 stack when hitting an enemy non-god. So minions, jungle camps, anything that you're hitting that is a non-god, you get one stack with your one. Yes, you have to have your one active.
Got a bond.
But you get 2 stacks if you kill an enemy non-god. So you can hit them to get 1 and then kill them to get 2. And this is when the burn is active on them if they are killed while the burn is on them. So even if you hit them and they die to the initial hit, then you still get the 2 stacks. So that's 3 between the hit and then the kill. But there's more. Surtur also gains additional stacks. So now we're at 3 when you hit an enemy god. So you get that same exact reward that it would be from hitting and killing a non-god, just from hitting an enemy god. So you can kind of pick and choose, do I want to use this on the wave and have to do a little bit more of like micromanaging to actually be there and like make sure it dies to the burn, or I could just go up and smack my lane opponent and get it. So you can make that choice. And you also get a little bit of an extra bonus here too when you kill an enemy god with the burn active of 5 stacks. So that always feels really nice when you're like, yes, I got a burn kill. Love that. Feels so fun.